Hi, Ghosties. I'm Macy.
And I'm Natalie.
And we're back with another Listener Stories episode.
Woo, woo, woo. Going strong. I'm loving December.
This is Listener Stories 15.
That doesn't even seem real to me because when we first started this, I was like, maybe in like 5 years, if we keep going, someone will send us a story.
I think you literally said that to me. It was like 5 years.
Yeah. And I was like, when we reach 10,000 subscribers in about 10 years, here we are. And I am so excited. These mean so much to me.
They do too. I think often I'll be just going about my day, like cleaning my house and doing whatever I have to do, and think, man, so many people are sending in these great stories and they are so wonderful.
It makes me so happy. I just can't believe people take the time to email us.
I know. So shout out to all of you. I'm ready to get into it.
Me too.
Our hot chocolate, Miss Hot Chocolate Connoisseur.
Okay. This is one that I am familiar with. I think I've had it before. I think I've had it at work when I was a server because I think the cooks gave us this hot chocolate. 99% sure, but I just wanted to try it again just to be 100%. It's the Nestle brand Abuelita, and it is a Mexican hot chocolate, and it says that it will have little bits floating at the top. So I'm interested. I'm very interested in it. Instead of like a little powder, it's a big block of chocolate, so let's go.
As far as I can taste, it's good. It is steaming hot, so I'm getting little tiny bits, but it just kind of tastes like chocolate melted in milk.
It doesn't have the fake chocolate taste that other hot chocolates have.
Yeah.
I can tell that this was a piece of chocolate melted in some milk. Not bad at all. I think this is one that a lot of people drink, so I'm not mad at it. But yeah, like you said, very, very hot. I can barely get a little sip, but
I just
I'm
burned
gonna
my
drink
tongue.
Anyways, I'm ready to get these stories going.
Our first story comes from Sydney. Hi, Ghosties. Love the pod so much. For some reason, my family has had many encounters with things that we cannot explain over the years. So I have a few stories I can share with you guys. My family has lived in rural South Jersey since I was born, and many of the houses in the area were built in the late 1800s, early 1900s. I think that has something to do with the paranormal encounters we've had, since so many people have lived in these houses before us throughout the years. My first encounter happened to me when I was around 7 or 8 years old, and it stuck with me so much that I can still remember every detail. One day, my family was visiting the grandparents' house for Sunday dinner. My parents, grandparents, and I were all in the kitchen, and my grandmom asked me to grab a roll of paper towels from a storage closet they had in the laundry room. I went to the laundry room, opened the doors to the closet, and saw a tall man standing right in front of me in the closet, just staring at me. He wasn't moving, and he didn't say anything. He just stood there and looked at me. I was fully convinced this was a real person that had broken into the house and was hiding in there. I'm not sure what other people see when they encounter ghosts/spirits, if they are supposed to be shadowy or see-through or something, but this man looked as real and lifelike as my parents in the next room. I still remember he was dressed in a black suit, wearing a black hat, and holding a briefcase.
Of course.
I love the added touch of the briefcase.
I know.
Like he's just like,
what's in there?
getting ready for work.
What's in there?
I don't want to know. I felt frozen to the spot in fear and started screaming for my parents because I was so afraid. As soon as I started screaming, the man held up one finger to his lips as if telling me to be quiet. Once I saw that, I ran back to the kitchen to tell my family there was a man hiding in the closet. They all went back to the laundry room and checked the closet, and of course, no one was there. I know that even at that young age, this was not something I imagined, as this man was completely lifelike and looked as real as anyone else in that house.
Well, as a parent, what do you do? What do you think? Do you think someone is in the house?
Well, she's saying, hey, there's a man in the closet. Yeah, of course I'm going to be like, come on, guys, let's get him. You know?
That's another one where like I would just instantly call the police.
Would you? You wouldn't even go check? You just
No.
take everyone out and call the police?
If your daughter came up to you and said, Mom, there's a man in the closet.
If I'm by myself, yes. If anyone else is over with me, no, I'm going to check it out with
Not me.
a weapon of some kind.
If I'm over there with you,
Grabbing one of my little steak knives
I don't know, man.
or my little wand keychain.
This is yet another story where the apparition is like fully like a human.
Yes.
I wonder what the difference is.
Between the more translucent looking versus the full-bodied, like...
Yes, and like
person.
why?
I actually heard something the other day. I don't know how true it is because it was on a Facebook reel or something.
Oh.
But it was some guy talking about the introduction of spirits as floating translucent beings.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with, they're not movies, but they basically were like projections,
Mm-hmm.
kind of little shows and they couldn't have the people walking because they were projections. So they kind of floated around. And then with pictures, when the pictures first started, like if you moved,
Oh, yeah.
it left kind of an imprint on the photo, but you weren't a full person. And so that's when like ghost pictures started. And that's when people started reporting floating translucent beings, supposedly. So says this guy.
That's very interesting. I would like to look more into that and see how accurate that is.
Yeah, but so I don't know. Maybe most people who see a spirit, it is an actual, looks like a full person.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I've never seen one, so I couldn't tell you.
Man. Okay. Well, if anybody knows, I want to know the difference.
Well, Sydney knows that she saw a
No.
full-on person.
Yes, and I would just like to know why. Why? Why?
From that point until my grandparents moved out of that house 6 years ago, I never opened that closet again. My parents still talk about that story to this day. My mom also had an experience in that house a few months afterwards. My entire family had left to go to the fair, and she had stayed behind at the house to do some chores. While she was home alone in the living room folding laundry, she heard footsteps walking up the steps and then start walking around on the second floor. She said it sounded like a woman walking around in heels. She went upstairs and checked every room and found no one. She went back downstairs a little freaked out but tried to forget about it. A few minutes went by with nothing, but then she heard the footsteps walk back down the stairs and stop at the bottom of the staircase. She left the house immediately to join us at the fair and didn't go back until the rest of us went home later that day. We still can't explain either of those events. Safe to say, we were all glad when my grandparents moved out of that house. Thanks so much for reading my story. Feel free to include in a future episode. And that we did.
Thank you.
Stopping at the staircase, bottom of the staircase, just like, was someone, like it, they almost mirrored each other, like the spirit walked upstairs. So the mom walked upstairs, stopped, looked around, no one there, went back down. So the spirit's like, did I just hear someone walking up the stairs? Walk downstairs, stop,
I didn't even think about that.
That was what was in my mind. Like it was some other woman.
Yeah, I was just trying to connect the two spirits. I was thinking like, okay, a woman
Husband
in
and
heels.
wife?
Yeah, I was thinking like a woman in heels. Okay, she's walking around doing her thing. The man with the briefcase, they could be husband and wife. But why was he in the closet?
That is a good question.
Or the laundry room or whatever. I mean, she has a reason to be walking around and doing things, but was he hiding? And what is he hiding from?
Oh, that's creepy.
I don't know. That's just a very weird place to find a spirit.
Well, maybe there were renovations on the house. Maybe the house is really old and the closet actually used to be a sitting room or something.
Oh, that's a good point.
Maybe. I don't know.
Interesting.
On to our next email. Hi guys, I'm Emily. I love the podcast so much and I listen to every episode, LOL. But okay, here's my paranormal experience. So when I was younger, my dad bought a house and knocked half of it down and rebuilt the remainder of it back up. The house was huge and beautiful, easily my favorite house I lived in. But there was something weird with that place. I always felt like someone was there with me. We had a huge mirror on one of the walls, and I remember our Great Dane would look near the corner of it as he barked and growled. I specifically remember dishes falling in the sink, and I chalked it up to, oh, it slipped, or just fell over, which could be true. Also, after our dog died, I remember hearing footsteps on the hardwood upstairs when I was watching TV downstairs. That, again, could have been a situation where my mind was playing tricks on me. Here's the weird part, though. My room was at the front of the house upstairs, and my parents' room was in the back of the house. My bed faced towards my closet, which I left open all the time. That's a big no for me.
No.
Sometimes there's a closet over here in this room, like across the room, and sometimes it's partly open. And every time it is, while we're recording, I just stare at it.
Why don't you just close it?
Because I don't realize until we're already recording, and I don't want to get up and. But yeah, it freaks me out.
I've never even paid attention to that.
Oh, I do, trust me.
That is actually kind of chilling. I don't like that.
One night I was sleeping and I woke up and saw the figure of what I assumed was a man just by stature and height standing in my closet.
Of course.
I couldn't make out any details. It was just a black outline of someone. I was young, maybe 7 or 8, and it scared me for a second, but I didn't feel like I was in any danger, so I went back to bed. I never said anything to anyone about it for years. I never saw it again, and as I grew up, I just figured I was a kid with an imagination. We ended up moving, and eventually I went to college. I was talking to my mom about her spiritual stories because her whole life, she's had weird experiences that couldn't be explained. I told her about the man in my closet, and she just looked at me and said, Emily, an older man died in the house your dad partially knocked down and rebuilt. Ever since then, I'm convinced that was the man in my closet. That house was the only place I'd ever gotten sleep paralysis as well. Short story, sorry, but that's always freaked me out a bit.
The fact that she didn't know.
Yeah, and she's just like, oh yeah, that one time I saw a man in my closet.
It's him.
It is him.
It's the homeowner. On one episode, I had said something about like who would live in a house where someone has died? And someone was like commenting like, everyone. And I was just like, oh, well, my bad. I don't know. But I don't think I could knowingly move in, even if it was a peaceful death.
See, with me, that doesn't bother me because there's death everywhere. You could walk into a Chipotle and not know that someone has died in there, unfortunately.
That's very true. That is very, very true. But in the place where you like live, you sleep there. The sleep thing is what gets me.
As long as it's a good ghost and it leaves me alone, whatever.
I would not want that at all.
I like really old houses.
I do too.
And so that just kind of comes with the territory, I think. Also, she said short story. Sorry. No, we want, even if it's like a 2-liner.
Oh, yeah.
Those are some of the scariest stories.
I've mentioned it before. I love the 2-sentence scary stories. I used to read those all the time in like middle school, and I would freak myself out at 12 o'clock on a Monday morning. On a Monday, like in class when I'm done with my work. Me and my friends would be like, oh my God. And then I'd be afraid to go to the bathroom the whole day. I was really into it.
On to the next story. This one comes from Melissa. I have so many, but a few notable ones. The house I grew up in had a lot of weird things happen, but the craziest was one day, my brothers and I were upstairs getting ready to go outside. As we came downstairs, my pops did a double take and asked my little brother, "Weren't you just outside?" He definitely wasn't, but Pops swears to this day that not 10 seconds prior, my brother walked past him to go outside. That wasn't the last time someone saw a doppelganger of one of us. Those really interest me. I'm intrigued by the quick little doppelganger, like the quick passerbys. Not like when they're trying to interact or anything. Those scare me. But the like pass by, like I saw them walk in or I saw them walk out. I heard them put their keys down and take their shoes off and walk upstairs. You know, those kind of things, that really interests me.
That makes me think of, for anybody that watched our second episode ever, the time that Kayla was like, Natalie, I saw you walk by my door.
Yeah.
Was it me?
Or was it something else?
Something dark. I would think it was something dark. But now that we've talked about more things, was it trying to look like me?
A mimic? I hope not.
We'll never know. We will never know.
That just made me a little ill.
Yeah, kind of scared me a little bit when I said it. My toes kind of tingled.
I want to hear the rest of these doppelganger stories that Melissa has, though.
Yeah, me too. I really do.
Send them
I thought there was going to be more. I was excited.
Well, there's a few more, but no more doppelganger. When I was a teenager, I had a lot of sleep paralysis nightmares. One night, I woke up frozen with guttural voices all around me speaking in a language I could not understand. I felt myself being pulled off the bed by my ankle. And just as I'd accepted that I would have a horror movie based off of my death, I felt myself being pushed back onto my bed from underneath. I came out of it and looked around, still feeling the remnants of the hands that had been wrapped around my ankle. The room was empty except for my basset hound and my German shepherd. I didn't sleep that night and never was able to explain it, but I've had sleep paralysis dreams since, where I again woke up with a distinct feeling that a hand had just been wrapped around my ankle, trying to pull her out of bed.
Oh, I just got scared.
Sleep paralysis. When I think of it in terms that's not like spooky haunted ghost activity, you know, in my mind it's just, you know, like hallucination of some kind. Just like halfway point between sleep and awake. But when you're being moved, or the feeling of being moved, is that in the same category?
I don't know.
Can that happen?
I don't know, but I just had a thought because I was like, obviously I never want this to happen in my bed. But as the week we're filming this right now, in a few days, I'm going to stay in a hotel. It's a historic-ish hotel. There's a lot of art in it, and it's kind of has a creepy vibe. I'm scared.
Well, don't have sleep paralysis.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
At least you won't be alone.
Yeah, but I'm going to be with someone I don't know.
Better to be with someone you don't know than totally alone.
Okay, so I'm with this person. I'm going to a work thing, but I'm with this person, and they're in the bed next to me. And imagine I'm having sleep paralysis. Imagine I'm being pulled off the bed.
If she sees you being pulled off the bed, though, she needs to help you.
I just frightened myself really bad.
An ex and I moved in together, and everyone in our house felt a bit uncomfortable. Periodically, our bed would shake. That was freaky. One day, I was folding laundry in the basement and heard walking upstairs. Only my cat and I were home, and he was sleeping next to me on the couch. I was freaked out, but brushed it off. I later went upstairs to take a shower. As I was in the shower, I heard the unmistakable sound of the front door opening, followed by our roommate calling my name. I yelled back that I'd be out in a minute, but heard no response. I got out of the shower and got dressed, and as I went down the stairs, I heard footsteps going down to the basement. Thinking it was my roommate, I went down there too. There was no one there. Another time, my ex and I were in the kitchen cooking while a house party was going on. The door to the basement was in the kitchen and wasn't staying open, so my ex tied a string to the door to keep it open. It was there for around 30 seconds before he looked at me with his eyes that didn't look like his ice blue eyes and with a voice that didn't sound like his and said, "That's where he died." We are still friends, and that freaks us out to talk about to this day.
What?
I don't know.
Was he aware that he said that?
That's what I want to know too.
Hello?
Like, that happened and you said what? And he's just
like, what?
Came out of it, and I want to know more about that.
I really want to know a lot more about that. And
that's where he died.
And that's another thing. I know I say it about a lot of stuff. The day you look at me and say something like that, the pod is done. I can never be around you again. We can FaceTime. I can't. I would never trust that person.
Seeing them kind of be overtaken by something else?
Yes, because part of me wants to be like, you're tricking me and that was really messed up and really scary. But the other part of me is like, you were just taken
Someone
over.
Else? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, in this case, the eyes didn't look the same.
Yeah.
So he had ice blue eyes and he turned to her and didn't anymore. I don't know, a split second, however long it takes to say that.
That's like a movie. I don't like that at all.
I would have just closed the basement door. Like, sorry.
And put him down there and then closed it. Oh, man. Oh, man.
Our next one comes from Anonymous.
Ooh.
Hello, I haven't seen all your videos yet, but I've been loving your videos. I wanted to share something I experienced when I was in 6th grade. When I was in 6th grade, my parents separated and my mom and I moved to a new area and I started at a new school. After a while, my parents started making amends and we started at a new church that happened to have a youth group. I started attending, I think on Wednesdays, even though that's not really important, lol. But there were other kids from my middle school that also attended weekly. One of them, Chris, was an 8th grader at my school. He was always really nice, but we were just barely acquaintances. One night out of nowhere, I had a dream about him. It was like I woke in his body and I smelled smoke and everything was hot. I didn't see him at all, but I just knew it was him. He was with friends who were people I didn't recognize, and they were jumping out of the window to escape the flames. I remember wanting to follow them out the window, but being so scared, and then everything went black. I woke up for real the next morning and immediately ran into my mom's bedroom and begged her to check the news on her phone. When she did, she found an article saying that Chris had died in a fire the night before in almost exactly the same way I had dreamt it. It's been 15 years, and I still think about it almost daily. That is so frightening. It feels so traumatic.
I don't know what to say. Very sad. I'm very sorry that you experienced that.
Yeah.
Because
I cannot imagine.
I wouldn't even know how to process or what to think about that.
That is so sad, though.
That's actually one of the saddest things we've ever read because it's from a listener and it's so real.
And when they woke up, they just knew.
They knew, yeah. I just want to know why. What was the purpose? Clearly, there was nothing you could have done, because the dream happened, as it was happening, you think? Or
I'd assume so.
because it was in the night. Because, we've had the ones where someone will have a dream and it hasn't happened yet and they can do things or, that's insane. That is really insane. Thank you for sharing that.
I also would like to know how and why too, because it's not like there's anything that this person could have done.
Yeah.
It was the middle of the night. It was kind of as it was happening. Was there some kind of, I don't know, connection between them? Because they were only acquaintances too.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to say were they super close and they just had a really intense bond or something? It just
very strange.
Or maybe this person is just very
in tune.
Yeah.
Intuitive.
And just sees things when they happen or before they happen,
Yeah. More little stories. At the same house as my previous story, still in the same year, I had a strange and scary encounter. Let me give you the layout of the upstairs of this house. When you walk up the stairs, there's a small hallway perpendicular to the stairs. From the stairs, my mom's room was a sharp left, my room was straight ahead, and the storage room was the sharp right, and the bathroom was at the right at the end of the hall. I was taking a bath in our old clawfoot tub, and as I was getting out, I wrapped my towel around me and walked out of the bathroom to go to my bedroom. All of the lights were out except for my room and the bathroom. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see a figure standing in the storage room. I turned to look, and I saw a tall, dark mass of a figure.
Oh.
So it didn't disappear when they turned to look at it.
I just got chills.
My skin felt like it was crawling, and I froze in place. I stood there for a good 15 seconds before I could blink, and then it was gone. I've seen it a couple more times over the years, but it was never as scary as that. Especially you're vulnerable and naked.
Yeah, it's the worst.
My mom died when I was 19, and shortly after her death, I was sitting in the living room at home, and I suddenly heard my name right in my ear, and I genuinely don't know if it was in my head or spoken in my ear, but it was my mom's voice saying my name in the same tone she would use when she was trying to get my attention.
Oh.
Every once in a while, I hear that voice and tone in my ear, and I like to think that it's her telling me to pay attention to what's going on around me and to keep it together. I'm so sorry about your mom.
But it sounds like this person is just very in tune with something. I don't know if you would say like have a gift or something, but
Yeah.
I think so. And I would love to believe that that's actually your mom. I personally think it is.
Yeah, me too.
But that's really sweet.
Another thing that happened to me was genuinely the second most terrifying thing I've ever experienced. I was living with my grandmother for a short period after my mother died and was sleeping on a couch in what we called the TV room. One night, I had sleep paralysis. I'm not sure if I was awake or still asleep, but I remember opening my eyes and seeing a dark figure on the ceiling in the corner of the room. I can't exactly remember what it looked like, but I know that I was terrified. I couldn't move, and it felt like something was sitting on my chest. I don't remember how long I was stuck like that, but I think eventually I fell back asleep. Fast forward in time a little bit, and my younger, high school age cousin was spending the night with me. I slept in one of the bedrooms, and she slept on the couch that I had slept on when I had my sleep paralysis. The next day, she told me about a dream she had, and to my horror, it was the exact same dream that I had. I don't know what it is. Black figure being on the ceiling makes it 10 times worse.
It is way worse. Way, way worse. It reminds... Never mind.
What?
You've never seen Hereditary. This falls on
No.
ignorant ears.
Sorry.
Wow. That sounded a little harsh, but you know what I mean?
It was. No, it's
Unknowing
okay.
ears.
No, it's okay.
But yes, the ceiling things in movies, in dreams, whatever, scares me.
Just defying our laws of physics.
Yes.
Which I don't know why I think a ghostly figure would adhere to our laws of physics.
I don't know, but I wish they would. That's
I
too
hate
much.
that.
Like if a baby's like giggling at the ceiling or something, it's like,
Mhm.
stop it, stop. Because
Close your eyes.
what do you see?
I hate that they had the same dream. The
Mhm.
same sleep paralysis dream.
It makes it feel really real.
With sleep paralysis, I can tell myself, oh, it's just a thing
It's
that
in
our
your
brains
head.
do, but when you're in the same spot and have the exact same experience, very spooky.
Very.
Another little weird moment. One day I was at work and I couldn't stop thinking of the name Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This sounds like a lie, but I genuinely had no idea who she was. How?
Whoa.
I'd heard her name before, but had no idea why randomly I couldn't get her name out of my head. I didn't know this at the time, but that was the day she died.
Oh.
That's crazy.
Wow.
To not even know her
Uh-huh.
and just like in your mind, yeah, you've got something.
Yep. Some kind of gift.
You know more than we do.
Yep.
The scariest moment of my life.
Oh, here we go.
I always start sweating when I read that. Like people send us, this is the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. I'm like,
Mhm. And it
"No."
always is truly terrifying.
This happened in my first apartment. I was walking from my bathroom into my kitchen, and as I passed the window in my kitchen, I felt like I was being watched. I looked to my right and saw someone staring in my window. Oh, sorry. That just did something to me.
That made me feel like my jaw was going to fall off. That like made me go numb in weird places.
Okay. I looked to my right and saw someone staring in my window. His face was expressionless, and we stared at each other for about 3 to 5 seconds before his face spread into this crazed smile. That's when my brain finally let me move. I immediately made sure my door was locked, the window was right by the door, and ran into my bedroom and tucked myself down on the floor in between the bed and the bookshelf. I called the cops, but when I got up, he was gone. The cops came and looked around but couldn't find him anywhere. As soon as I left, he was back on my porch. I called the police again and he disappeared again. I couldn't move until my dad showed up to walk me to my car. I slept at my grandmother's, different grandma, that night. I thought it was an intruder or a creeper of some sort, and it very well could have been, but looking back now, I'm not 100% sure. There was something about the way his smile formed that wasn't completely human. It still burned in my brain, and the fact that he just disappeared as soon as the cops showed up and was found nowhere in the neighborhood, suspicious. My whole body is tingling. Like I feel like I am the static on a TV.
It wouldn't have scared me if he wouldn't have smiled.
The smile and he came back and was just looking through the windows at her.
You know, I try to keep my blinds open like throughout the day so the dogs can, you know, see the sun and, you know, just natural light. This is going to scar me for a little bit.
Oh yeah, I keep all my windows open. I hardly turn a light on during the day.
I know, I don't unless it's my Christmas lights. Woo! Not anymore.
I've got some new things going on now, but I don't want to talk about them out loud in fear that it might get worse. But I might talk about it at some point. I don't blame you.
Smart. Keep us updated though
We'd
when
love
you're
to
ready.
hear when you're ready, but if you're never ready, that's fine too. We are very much the kind of people that is like, if you don't talk about it, you can keep it at bay.
Yep.
Thanks for reading my stories, and I hope they send a chill through your bones. They did. These are all 100% true, and I hope you enjoy them. Again, thanks for reading, and I hope you enjoy. Love, Anonymous.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic.
That was a roller coaster.
But it made me very sick to my stomach. It was sad, scary, just the whole time.
I didn't remember this story when I read it when I put it in, and it felt like I was reading it for the first time, especially that last one.
A lot of emotions. Fear being the main one.
Fear is a driving emotion, especially for the times that we record this podcast.
Yes.
Our next story. Hi, my name is Yareli. I'm 19 years old, and I just started watching your YouTube channel, and I have been binge watching ever since. I love your channel. I always hear your podcast while I'm at work. I decided to send in my scary stories. The first, La Llorona.
No.
I know I'm scared. I watched your video about La Llorona and remembered the story my family would tell me growing up. This story comes from my mom. My mom grew up very Catholic. She's now Christian, but she's never really believed in anything paranormal. She's always been a skeptic. This is the only thing she does believe in, and it really did scare her. She doesn't really like talking about it, so I really do believe her, especially because everyone in my family tells me similar stories to what happened to my mom. So my mom was around 14 the first time she heard her. My mom lived in a rancho. The city was about an hour away, and it was all dirt roads. It really is such a beautiful place, but onto the story. Where my mom lived, it was just all basically family who lived there. All their neighbors were family, and my mom said they were all used to hearing crying at night. My mom grew up with her grandma since my grandparents had left the States to try to get a better life for their kids until they could bring them legally. My mom was around 9 when she started staying with her grandma, and she said the first week she stayed there, she would hear crying and wailing at night, but inhuman. It sounded scary, and somehow everyone in the ranch paid no mind to it and acted like it was normal since they were used to hearing it all the time.
No.
They would never see her figure or anything, just wailing and scary crying that sounded horrible. All they would do is say ignore it and just go to sleep and pay no mind. I don't know how you could ignore that.
No.
Hearing screaming and crying and talking at night.
But then again, they could think, okay, if we don't give it any power, if we don't pay attention to it, it'll go away. It won't bother us. We'll be fine. So I could see how you could, if it...
Like, that's the rule, but I don't know that I'd be able to sleep hearing that outside my window.
Earplugs.
Especially out in the middle of nowhere.
No.
I'm just glad to have never heard the wailing woman outside of my house at night.
I know, I couldn't imagine.
On to the next story from Skylar. I want to start off by saying I love you guys so much. Please keep up the amazing content. This isn't my story, but a friend of mine's uncle's story. But it's still the scariest thing I've ever heard, and it's all true.
First of all, thank you. Now I'm ready to be scared. Let's go.
I'll start by saying the story takes place like 30 minutes from where I live, which is scary because I live in a very small town in Oklahoma. I'll tell you the story from his POV so it's easier to read. This is exactly how my friend told it to me. I live out in the country with not very many neighbors, the closest being at least 3 miles away. I own a lot of animals, including pigs, chickens, and goats, but besides my animals, I live alone. I went to bed and woke at some odd hour of the night from a noise. I quickly realized it was the sound of one of my goats, who sounded like it was in distress. For some context, I have it set up where my goats have a big area in my field in which they stay in. I got up and got my shoes and coat on to go see what the deal was. I also grabbed my shotgun just in case it was coyotes, which I thought it would be. I started walking out into the dark field, feeling pretty confident with my gun. About 10 minutes into my walk, I heard whispering. Not just any whispering, but whispering of about 8 people in low and fast tones. As I heard this, I looked out, and about 15 feet in front of me, as my eyes adjusted to the dark, I saw at least 8 people with black cloaks on. They were standing in a circle around a pentagram with my goat in the middle. I was in complete shock. Never in my life would I have thought that I would come across anything like this. Standing there in disbelief, I went to take a step back, and like any cliche horror story, I stepped on a stick, causing the whispers to stop. All of the people stopped whatever they're doing and faced me.
No.
Then one of the people said, "Get him." Right after he said that, all of the people started running at me. So adrenaline kicked in, and I sprinted back the way I came from. I knew there was a wire fence coming up, and I had no time to stop to climb over it. So when I got up to it, I threw myself over it, cutting the whole left side of my back. As I made it back to my house, my mind was racing, confused on what my next course of action would be. The next morning, I went back to the spot where I thought it took place, and everything was gone. Everything except one blood stain, which I'm guessing came from my goat. I still have the scar from when I jumped over the fence. This still continues to be my most terrifying experience I've ever had. What was happening?
What do you do?
This is scarier because it's real people.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. But they were doing something supernatural.
Some ritualistic something. Why were they wearing black cloaks?
And why were they sacrificing his goat?
Oh, I don't
Why are
like
you
that
laughing?
at all because I'm uncomfortable.
Oh my god.
I'm uncomfortable.
I'm speechless. This is too much. I would love to own some land one day, but now that this is a possibility, now that I've realized this is a possibility, I don't know about that.
We need like big game fences around with a giant electric
Spotlights and a watchtower.
like a prison.
Yes. To keep everyone out. Get him? That doesn't... Oh, I just got scared again. Get him?
Yeah.
And the poor goat. That makes me really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can add that to the list of scary stories I've ever heard.
Yeah, that was really, really scary.
Wow.
I did not like that.
No, not at all. And I want to know what the goal was, where those people came from, who they are,
Why are they stealing somebody else's goat?
and why did they choose his? Were they just like roaming around looking for people with goats and they said, you know what? He has enough land. Let's go out right here.
They'll never know. Yeah. Another story from an anonymous writer.
Oh, why are we doing anonymous today? I like it. It makes it more mysterious.
I agree. Hi, Macy and Natalie. European listener here. I just saw your latest podcast on YouTube and I decided to share my creepy experiences with you. I was home late one night in my living room texting a friend when I decided to go to my room to draw the shutters all the way down, as I did every night. To understand, I have a balcony in my room with railings on the side. The balcony is not super high, but also not super low on the ground, and it's pretty difficult for someone to climb in and climb back down in less than 5 minutes without me seeing them or hearing them. So I get to my room, put my phone down on the bed, and as I was about to start, I hear a knock on the glass. I paused. I looked through the glass, and no one was on my balcony. I switched the light for a second to see more clearly. Still, no one was there. So I brushed it off, thinking it was my mind playing tricks on me. The moment I switched off the balcony lights and my hand went to draw the shutters down again, I hear 3 more loud knocks on the glass. I run out of my room so fast. Yeah, they're just staying open for the night.
No, I'm shutting it and I'm never opening it again.
You're going to stay there and shut when someone's banging on your glass right by you? No, I'm running. I'm shutting my door, staying out of there until
Sleeping on
morning
the couch.
time, and I'll come back to it at a later date.
Okay, very true. I don't like that at all. I was about to say,
And then the next morning, they're getting shut and never opened again.
oh yeah, bolted shut. And I was just about to say, I would love to have a little balcony. Maybe not.
This happened when I had a friend over for a sleepover, and my living room still had a camera that you could watch and speak through if necessary. We were watching a movie when we suddenly hear these weird, creepy noises following with heavy breathing. We brushed it off because we thought it was from the movie, but then it happened again, and this time more loud and creepy than before. We freaked out. I called my dad to see if he was doing some sort of prank on us, but the noises didn't stop as I was talking with him through the phone. We ended up locking ourselves in my room for the rest of the night. Is that spooky, or is that someone hacking into their camera?
I was going to say
Which
that.
is scarier than anything you could tell me on a paranormal podcast.
I think about that all the time. The camera I have for my dogs and things, which, I mean,
Yeah.
okay, if someone hacked in, they'd just see my dogs on the couch. But the fact that it's a possibility freaks me out really bad.
Yeah.
Really, really
I've
bad.
seen stories of like people's baby monitors being hacked, and they're like, hey, you want ice cream?
Come outside.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely not.
Way too much.
Oh, I hate that so much for you.
Me too.
I was home alone late one night in my room with the door closed, about to put music on, when I hear someone running down the hallway outside my room like somebody is chasing them running. I opened the door so fast, but no one was there and my dog was sleeping on the couch.
And the fact that the dog didn't react, is that good or bad?
Good.
You think?
Yes. In my mind, yes. Because if it was something bad, then the dog would be like
Alert.
on alert. But if it's something that the dog doesn't have to worry about, the dog's just like, okay, I'll go back to sleep.
I guess that's true. That is comforting.
Even still, they shouldn't be running through their house.
No.
They need to find somewhere else to get their little jog in.
This podcast is slowly ruining everything for me. Hallways, balconies, bathrooms, closets. What else?
Sorry.
Cars.
Everything.
Everything.
They're everywhere. I just thought of the Ghost Whispers theme. Like, can you see us?
Stop. That used to scare me. I
I
loved
know.
Ghost Whisper, but even now to this day, if I rewatch it, I skip the theme song because it's
a little freaky.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Hello, I just found your podcast and have been having so much fun binge watching it while I work from home. It's such a cozy, fun podcast, and I'm so happy you guys came across my page. I love hearing the like short little like
It's cozy
praise and like, hi, cozy, love the podcast, before they just beat us down with terror.
Right, they're like, I feel like we're having fun at a sleepover. Anyways, there was a demon.
Yeah.
What?
That's like my favorite part of these emails.
It's good. It's good.
The demon, the dog, and the Halloween bebe.
Okay, I love a title. I'm locked in.
Hi, my name is Banana. Canonically, no, it's not, but yes, it is. And I'm a Canuck from Canada. I'm a Halloween bebe with a rambling habit, so apologies in advance. My tale is not like super exciting. It's truly kind of mid, but it's my only spooky thing, and as a Halloween child, that is truly personally offensive to me. I also speak like a nana, and so I write like a nana. Enjoy. To begin, I grew up always wanting spooky things to happen, but sadly, they never did. However, when my family moved from my hometown to a new city for my parents, the universe said, here you go, and I said, no thank you. We moved into this too expensive house, far away from family we all grew up with, for my dad to pursue a dream job. Sounds great. Not at all horror movie material. The house was weirdly shaped, with the stairs being like a donut hole on the middle. Picture a square with a hole in the middle. That's where the stairs sat. Bad juju in my opinion, but I was not consulted as I was 13. Being 13, I wanted the basement bedroom that wasn't really supposed to be a bedroom because of course I did. Here's the fun thing. Basement, huge. My own bathroom, but the cost? Every night before bed, I had to pass a quest. Turn off the light in an unfinished, mostly empty storage/music/computer room with random gadgets everywhere because the light switch was on the opposite side of my room.
No.
The worst. Fun story about this house. It was weird in shape. It was weird in history. It was weird in vibes. It was in a cul-de-sac that was set on a hill, and my family had got it from a couple that literally moved next door.
What?
Like right next door. They stole the house and just like, boop.
Nice.
This was an old couple with a quiet dog named Charlie. This couple was also years-long friends with the other neighbors. Arsehole number 1 across from us, but with a cute son, and arsehole number 2 beside us. This was my parents' declaration, not mine. These neighbors who had previously lived in our home would also walk through our backyard anytime they wished, like they still owned it.
Oh,
Hate that.
that would drive me insane.
This was also a more affluent area, but my parents got the house for a steal for the area, bringing the market value down in the circle. So no one liked us, as it was a snooty area and we ruined everything. The couple that used to live here had lived there for like 40 years and we had no idea why they moved out. It had been built in the 70s. We got it in 2011. So no hauntings, yeah? In my
Yeah.
dungeon adjacent bedroom, it was totally normal except for the window without blinds that looked out to underneath the deck. Under it.
Oh no.
Like where bodies would be. I didn't notice that at first, and when I did, I asked for blinds ASAP. Sometimes I would look out the window to see eyes. A bird, stray cat, whatever. Horrifying. Nightmare inducing. No thank you. I'd also see the neighbors traipsing through our backyard at weird hours of the night. Why?
I don't like that. It feels like they don't want to let the house go. Like that last story. They're about to sacrifice a goat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like they're all these old rich people who have like rituals and,
It's get
and
out.
do weird things. Yeah.
You know, the amount of times we've mentioned presidents is like kind of equivalent to the amount of times we've mentioned a Jordan Peele movie. It's a very weird thing that we do here.
I agree. I agree. The longer we lived there, the worse our lives got progressively. I got really sick one year and was hospitalized for 10 days in Ottawa. My brother got really sick and was in and out of the hospital overall, which is extra stressful because he has Down syndrome and is more susceptible to certain health conditions. My parents, oh God, my parents. My parents went through a rather contentious divorce. All is well now, thankfully. The house was full of constant tension, yelling, illness, and 5 of my dad's extended family died unexpectedly in the years we were there.
Oh my goodness. All of this is already, it feels like it's opening itself up to anything that was laying dormant in the house.
Yeah.
All the negative energy.
So the house is cursed, you dig? We didn't put the pieces together though. I always assumed the house was freaky, but I am a chicken. Was a dumb child and very fanciful and gullible, to the point my parents literally said to me once, I think you are too into your books. Like I wasn't socialized correctly. Yay. That was me. I literally used to hide in my closet reading.
Yeah.
One night I go to bed and I'm creeped out as always. At this point, every night I'm sleeping with the light on because when I turn the lights off, the shadows off the deck can move really weird and make me think like a grudge is in the room. This has been months of light on sleeping, but I guess the demon said they were over it or whatever. I crawl into bed and leave the door to my bedroom, always to the dungeon room, open enough for a fat cat because my darling idiot cat Klaus, who I loved with all of my heart, was Siamese and would scream and wake the neighbors if I closed it. He had no respect for my healthy fear of dungeon room. I doze off and eventually roll towards the wall, fear outweighed by sleep. I feel the weight of my bed shift behind me, and I'm like, oh, Klaus is here. He was 22 pounds, so he was big. I can sleep better now. A minute later, I hear something start taking heavy breaths, and I feel the weight of the bed shift.
No.
Keep in mind, I was almost asleep, but I wake up. I pop my eyes open and remain very still for a minute, and then I hear a full-on growl.
No.
'Twas not my kitty. I popped up in terror to see nothing on the bed. No cat, no human, no nothing. I yeeted out of bed faster than Roadrunner, ran to the downstairs bathroom, locked the door, and sat in there for the next 2 hours. No phone, no book, nada. Just vibing with demons, I guess. That morning, I was so scared, I actually told my mom. Guess what she said? Huh, I wish you had told me that. Sometimes I can feel an angry presence in my room, in the corner, like it's glaring at me, and I can't sleep. Once I thought there was a woman staring, but I figured it was a dream. Glad it's not just me. Next time, come see me.
Okay.
Mother, excuse me? So yeah, that house had a demon. 10 out of 10, no contest. I tried to pass it off. The neighbor's dog Charlie had died recently. Maybe he came home to visit where he had lived most of his life. Cute, yeah? But I don't think it was sweet old boy Charlie. I think we had like a rage demon. No one has lived in that house past a year or two since then, by the way. My dad worked with real estates in the area and they let him know this. So that was fun info. Anyways, this story horrified my Catholic boyfriend, so maybe it will spook others. I'm sad that's all I have. Well, I have the story about the neighbors in our next house who would dig at 3 a.m. But...
Oh, I want to know about the neighbors.
This is long, so thanks if you read/see this at all and keep up the cozy pod. I've also attached pictures of the fat cat because I can.
I have always loved Siamese cats.
Love cute cats. Also, why are your neighbors digging at 3 a.m.?
Yeah. Leave us hanging like that?
How dare you?
It's like I had a demon. Oh, and also these neighbors were really weird. Anyways, bye.
I need to know more about the neighbors because I think they were up to something. They were up to some shady stuff.
Have to be.
That was
We've
terrifying.
had a lot of growling and like guttural sounds and gasping and things lately.
Yeah.
Too much for my liking.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Getting that extra like added information always makes it 10 times scarier.
I like the silent hauntings. They're a lot less scary to me.
Our next one comes from Angelica. Hi ladies. Every time I think of this, I get shivers. I hope this makes it into the podcast because it's one of those things that if it hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't believe it. In this dream, I was with my 4-year-old daughter. My 8-year-old daughter wasn't in the dream. I remember crying and begging these people to stop. They refused and said that it was either they do this or something worse would happen. I had to sit there and let a man cut off my daughter's left arm. I was so distraught that I couldn't see anything else, just my daughter and our agony from the events. I woke up shaking and immediately called my boyfriend, her father. He leaves to work before we wake up. I started telling him about my nightmare when he cuts me off. I hadn't even told him anything aside from me being with our daughter in some random place. He stated he also had a nightmare. He said in his nightmare, he was forced to cut off the left arm of our 4-year-old daughter and that he had no other choice. That's when I realized that it was him who I saw doing that in my dream. Now, I don't know what the chances are of 2 people having the same dream regarding the same child and the same arm was cut off, but I don't think that chances are many. And to this day, I still think we must have tapped into another reality where the other us had to do/witness this happen. And for whatever reason, we/they had to let it happen. Thanks for reading and maybe sharing. Love your pod and hope you ladies have much success.
We've been hearing more and more shared dream stories too.
Yeah.
That's a dark one. Why? Is this Saw?
She didn't even tell him the dream. She was just like, me and 4-year-old daughter were in this place. He was like, whoa, stop you right there because I had a dream where proceeds to unfold the entirety of her dream.
I wouldn't know how to go on because like, is this going to happen?
No.
Why are we dreaming about that?
I don't know. Like she said, maybe they like tapped into another reality.
Oh man. No.
I love a good dream story though.
Oh, me too. I would like to do like dreams part 2.
Okay.
I was into it.
We have a story from another Emily. Hi, I am a new subscriber and I absolutely love your podcast. I have a few stories of my own and some weird things my dad has experienced in the house I grew up in that I would like to share. Some backstory. My grandparents moved to my hometown in the 70s and bought their house and the property across the street that used to be the general store. My dad grew up in the house and then renovated the general store into the home I grew up in. That's so
that's
neat.
Really cool. Yeah.
Growing up, our parents let us stay home alone for short periods of time once we turned 11 or 12. One day after school, my mom was in town taking my brother to baseball practice, and my dad wasn't home from work yet. My mom was only going to be gone for 20 minutes, so I turned on Hannah Montana and locked in. I had gotten up to pee, walking from the living room through a very short open hallway through the kitchen into the main bathroom. Our house was very long and open. Imagine a long hallway, but open rooms to dining room, kitchen, linking room, and bedrooms toward the back of the house. I could see the bathroom door from the couch through the kitchen. Anyway, I shut the door and was doing my business when I heard a loud ksh, like the sound of an old-fashioned TV turning on and what sounded like the news talking very loudly. My whole body froze, knowing I'm the only one home, and I had paused the TV when I got up to pee.
Oh no.
In the kitchen, there was a small 10-inch TV with a vertical switch to turn on. No buttons. And it was not on when I walked through. I washed my hands in fear and counted down to open the bathroom door and run to the front door. As soon as I got outside, my dad pulled in the driveway. I can't explain what I heard, but it creeped me out.
I would have just stayed in the bathroom.
Just lock the door.
Into the shower, close the curtain, close the door, whatever's there, and I'm laying down like this until someone comes to find me.
Oh no.
I'm not moving.
I'm glad her dad got home right then too.
Me too.
Perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
A scarier story.
Oh no.
My grandparents, of course, still lived in the house across the street as I grew up. My grandma had passed, and it was just my grandpa in the house in very poor health. So my dad hooked up a baby monitor, no camera, just the radio speaker thing, in his house that relayed to the dining room right inside the front door, which then relayed to a second monitor that my parents kept next to their bed. They did this in case he fell down and was yelling for help. My grandpa passed on a Sunday evening, and I had a job interview for my first big girl job Monday morning. I was devastated, but it was only a 30-minute virtual meeting, so I powered through and was going to do it. I woke up Monday morning and was sitting in the dining room making sure my computer was ready to go and my notes were in order when all of a sudden I heard something through the monitor. This is like my worst nightmare.
We were just talking about baby monitors.
Yeah, this is like top 5, one of my worst nightmares. It sounds like my grandpa clearing his throat very loudly in his tone and everything. I froze. My body immediately got hot and I got chills. I sat there for a good 5 minutes holding back tears before I logged on for my interview. All went well. I logged off and got a few more hours of sleep. Later that evening, I sat down for dinner with parents. I had finally gained the courage to explain what I heard this morning, telling them every detail through tears. My dad looked me in the eye in shock and told me that he thought that was me clearing my throat. He had heard it through the monitor in his bedroom and it had woken him up. I can't explain it, but maybe it was my grandpa telling me everything was going to work itself out. I hope so.
I hope so. I wonder if she got the job.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's so irrelevant, but
Yeah, I want to know.
I love stories like that. I love it. I love it. That's like the one we heard recently where the lady was going to have her baby and the grandpa called or the dad called.
Oh, yeah.
I just love that.
On our last listener stories.
Yes. I love things like that so much.
I know, just like having a loved one
A little reminder.
reach out and just like a little like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
You're okay. I'm okay. My dad always talks about weird experiences in our house. Seeing shadows around the back hallway that looked like someone is peeking around the corner with a hat on. We had this John Wayne figurine that sat on a shelf, and every time we walked back through the living room, it was facing the way, turned in the opposite direction that it was supposed to be.
No.
My mom even said once they got so fed up blaming it being turned around on each other that they both went in the living room to turn it facing out so you could see the front of John Wayne on the shelf. They both walked out of the room for a minute. They went back to check on John Wayne, and he was turned around. They got rid of the figurine after that happened.
I love thinking about a ghost having just very strong negative opinions about John Wayne and being like, get this out. That's actually kind of really funny.
There are so many little things that have happened along with a feeling of uneasiness while I'm in the house. I hope you enjoyed these few stories. Keep up the great work. You all make the world a better and scarier place. Emily.
Thank you.
That was so sweet.
That was really cute. Great stories though. I know I'm weird, but I would love to see what their house and their grandparents' house looks like because like it was bought long ago and the general store was renovated. Love things like that. I want to see photos of
cute.
Before and after.
Our next one comes from Mariel. Hello, ladies. Love your podcast. I'm a new subscriber and have been enjoying your videos back to back for several days now. I just watched the episode on mimics, and Natalie's comment about hearing her name whispered in her ear while at school brought back a few memories from college that I thought you'd find interesting.
I do want to say the comments have made me feel not alone.
Validated.
To this day, people comment that on that video like, Yeah, Natalie, I hear that all the time. It was like a weight has been lifted off of me.
And it just makes me feel more scared.
I don't feel scared. I feel validated. Because whenever
Good.
you were
I'm
like,
glad.
because at first I thought that was normal. And then you were like, oh, what? Never. But all the comments saying, yeah.
Well, I wasn't saying it like you're a weirdo.
No.
I was saying it like that is the most frightening thing I've ever heard in my life.
So it made me feel like, what? Like, am I alone? And I'm not.
You're definitely not alone, yeah. I went to Hofstra University on Long Island for undergrad and spent many hours in the library studying for a literature degree. The library has 10 floors and is built like an old cement skyscraper with different collections on each floor. It was hard to find empty desks and study stations on the main floors, so my friend and I would study on the third, which was hardly ever occupied. Although it was eerily quiet and had many blind spots because of the old shelving, we appreciated the empty cubicles and the few armchairs in the reading alcove. That's how I felt in my college. The library. Ugh, it was so hard to go find somewhere. I'd have to find the like most desolate space to be able to get any work done or find like an actual area to sit my things down on.
Yeah, I was about to say the library at my college. I don't know why it felt creepy to me.
My whole college felt creepy.
Yeah, anytime
The older buildings, not so much the newer buildings though.
anytime I was going to a class or doing anything on campus, if I was walking and there was no one around, I was always like,
yeah,
scared. And especially because my first semester or my second semester, I had a film class at like 5:30. So it went on for like 3 hours and we got out at night. So it was completely dark. And we would watch things that were like unsettling. So I'd leave class and then walk into the pitch black. And I'd be like, oh my God. And I'm at the back of campus.
A whole different world.
Yes. But anyway, yeah, libraries creep me out.
One day I went by myself to study and dozed off in one of the armchairs. I also had an English degree and I read a lot of books. Like I was reading like 3 books a week sometimes. I honestly more like 5 books a week. Every night I'd sit down after work and open my book and then suddenly it was like 6 a.m. and I was like with the book on the same page.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. One day I went by myself to study and dozed off in one of the armchairs. There was sunlight streaming through the windows and dust mites in the air. Somewhere between waking state and sleep, I heard a young man's voice from behind me say, "Sweetheart, it's time to wake up. Get up, Mariel." And a gentle finger stroked my cheek. Thinking it was a specific friend from one of the clubs I was in, I roused myself and expected to see him there behind me. But I looked around to find no one in the alcove with me. I gathered my things and went to the exit at the elevator, and a real man stepped out from behind a shelf in the shadows as though he had been hiding and got on the elevator with me. It felt as though he wanted to say something to me, but I didn't wait long enough to find out. I walked immediately to my dorm and didn't leave the rest of the day. Did the ghostie on the 3rd floor save my life? He stepped out of the shadows as if he was hiding. The spirit or whatever woke her up like, hey, you need to get out of here. I've got chills like just emanating through my body, like washing over me like a wave, like wave after wave.
I'm speechless. I was ready to be like scared of the ghost.
No.
But it's worse. A person.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I want to know who it was. Was it just a spirit of someone on campus or was it a loved one? Was it a guardian angel?
Yeah.
Either way, thankful for them. That's so scary.
So scary.
This is random, but it just brought this to my mind. I saw this statement and it was very comforting to me and I would like to share because I'm a very paranoid person. I'm constantly living in fear of everything. And someone was like, how can I tell the difference between an actual like gut feeling and me just being paranoid?
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
I saw it the other day. And it said,
well, not this. We've talked about having to try and tell the difference between your intuition and your paranoia or your anxiety.
And this one said, I'm probably going to butcher it, but it was basically like a gut feeling is something that you absolutely can't ignore. It won't be ignored. And paranoia is the constant in your brain. It just keeps going, but you can ignore it. That statement alone helped me because, and this is probably a me problem, but every time someone gets in a car, I'm like, oh, they're going to wreck. Oh, it's going to be bad. And I constantly am questioning like, is this my paranoia or is this my gut? And then now that I'm thinking about that difference, I'm like, oh, I'm just paranoid.
You can tell the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. And that really helped me.
Interesting. I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah. I don't know if that'll help anybody else, but
that'll help me.
It made me feel a lot better.
Thank you for sharing. Thinking that the dream/vision in the library was odd, I recalled feeling like I was being watched in the bathroom of the saved floor. Fluorescent lighting and old construction and all. The next time I asked my girlfriend to study with me at the library, she said, we can go, but not to the 3rd floor. I don't get a good feeling there. So we stopped going. But the experiences on campus didn't stop. There was an entire suite of 4 girls who had holed themselves up in one room because they were waking up with scratches on their arms and objects dangerously flying around their room. I never experienced anything this scary, but I was convinced I had a ghosty helper by second semester, as another encounter occurred in my dorm room. I was napping between classes in my room alone. It was the middle of the day and hardly anyone was on my floor. It was eerily quiet for a campus dorm. I knew that I had a class that I could not miss in an hour or so, but I forgot to set an alarm for myself. I worked 3 jobs and was exhausted all the time and was very much asleep when I heard someone yell my name in my right ear. I sat straight up out of sleep and found no one in my room with me, nor any noises around that could have woken me up. Then I looked at the clock. It was exactly 10 minutes before my next class. Hope this wasn't too long-winded for the pod and that you found it interesting. Keep up the good work. Stay safe.
I feel like this person has like a guardian angel or something with them. I love that so
Those
much.
were all good stories.
Is this the end?
Of hers, yeah.
Of not everything?
No.
Dang it.
One more. I'm sorry.
I wanted to end right there and feel good.
Yeah.
Oh, because that would be perfect. Those were so comforting and made me feel so good.
Good. Yeah. Heartwarming.
Good for you.
Those were really good. If anybody's got some more good heartwarming stories, we'd love to hear those because I've been a little scared out of my mind lately.
Me too.
Honestly, I've been a little on edge.
Me too, but I'm having fun.
Me too.
I say with a tear running down my cheek.
This is really fun. Okay, this is our last story.
Oh, okay.
This is from Sam. Hi, Macy and Natalie. I just recently found your podcast and I love it. I've been a believer in the paranormal for as long as I can remember and have had multiple experiences with them, and I love y'all's energy. This experience that I'm about to share is the scariest and least explainable one that I've had. I've only ever told this story to some close family members and friends, and I posted it on Reddit. I feel like you and your subscribers are a good audience to hear my experiences. I'm comfortable with you telling my story on your channel if you'd like. Thank you so much for feeling comfortable sharing with all of us.
I love when people trust us with their stories.
Me
It makes
too.
me feel very good.
Honored, yeah. My parents got divorced when I was about 6 years old. Ever since then, my brother and I spend half of the time with our dad and half of the time with our mom. Eventually, my dad met my current stepmom on a dating website who had 2 sons from a previous marriage. She and my dad married and he moved into her house. This house was small, run down, and was almost 100 years old. There was no central heating, mold on the walls, and cockroaches and mice in the kitchen. The place was basically falling apart and was super haunted. Although now they've moved into a better house on the better side of town, which is, thankfully, not haunted and really nice. Some common occurrences in that house were odd noises, footsteps, and what sounded like people whispering. Things also tended to go missing for about a week and then randomly show up in a room in the back of the house. I'm not talking like this happened a couple of times. This would happen at least once a month, and it would happen the same way every time. It goes missing, then shows up in the back room exactly a week later. Nothing really that alarming had happened to me until about 2 or so years before we moved out. Now, being the only girl amongst my siblings in the house, I had my own room. I was a preteen at the time, so I was about 11 or 12. When I was younger, I had to sleep with my door open about a foot wide. Through this opening, I could see the entrance of the hallway. I had a small walk-in closet with no door facing my bed with a light on in it. And I was terrified of the dark, so I always had that light on during the night. We also always kept the hall light on in case someone needed to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. One night, I woke up for seemingly no apparent reason around 2:30 a.m. After sitting up and looking around my room, I looked through my open door and saw the shadowy figure of a man appear in the entrance of the hallway backlit by the hallway light. He was completely dark, but looked to be wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a coat with a large collar.
The Hatman.
For some reason, I felt that this spirit wanted to hurt me. I could feel it telling me, I'm going to kill you. You are going to die. I was paralyzed with fear. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. All I could do was stare at this figure and hope that it didn't murder me. Then, after what felt like hours of us staring at each other, he would vanish and I would fall back asleep. This happened for a week straight. I didn't want to tell anyone because I was afraid that they wouldn't believe me. I went back to my mom's house for a week, and then at the start of the next week when I came back, the same thing happened. Only this time when I saw him at the hallway entrance, he immediately vanished and then reappeared right in front of my door. The door opened wider slightly when he appeared there. I was terrified. I was sure I was going to die. Eventually, he disappeared again, and I somehow fell back asleep. I was afraid that if I started closing my door at night, he would appear in my room and kill me.
Oh my God.
So I left it open. This happened for another week, and then I never saw him again. I have no idea if that figure was just a ghost or something more powerful and sinister. I've also considered the possibility of sleep paralysis, but I was always wide awake and able to move around right before I would look over and see him. That seems more sinister.
Well, he said he's going to kill you. I wonder, is this like just a dark entity? Or could it be the ghost of someone that was bad during life and that had committed crimes in life?
And just like
gave that energy?
Yeah, his energy remaining.
I don't know, but I just don't like it at all.
No, me neither.
I thought you were going to say he appeared like on top of me, right in front of my bed.
At the doorway's close enough.
Way too close.
Years after we moved out, my stepmom told us she had some experiences as well, but didn't want to share them with my brother and I as we were still young and didn't want to scare us. Now, the door to the room that my brother shared was really hard to open. Like, you had to put most of your weight into the door to get it to open because of how the foundation of the house was settling. One night, years before my stepmom had met my dad, she had put my oldest stepbrother to bed in that room and closed the door tightly before going to bed. After she walked away, she heard the door to his room open and thought he was trying to get out of bed. Then she heard him calling for her. When she got there, the door was open and he asked her why she had opened his door. There was no one else in the room at the time. She also had multiple instances of hearing voices calling her name and footsteps and creaks around the house when she was alone. To this day, I feel a tightness in my chest when remembering this experience. I've always wanted to go back to that house and ask the current owners if they've experienced anything, but I'm too afraid of what I might find if I do.
Do it. Do it and film it and send it to us. Okay, send us the address. I'll go ask them, but I would really like to know.
We've had several stories now of the person experiencing something and then later on being told by the adult or someone else living like, oh yeah, that's happened to me all the time. Well, thank you everyone for sending in your stories. We've got plenty more coming.
I'd like to keep this going. If we ever run out of ideas, we have enough listener stories to get us through for a while. So as long as y'all are here, we're here. And I'm here for it. Here.
I almost said that, but I was like, that's too much. We appreciate everyone taking the time to be here with us and listen. Be kind in the comments. Let some of our listeners know who wrote in your thoughts on their stories. If you have any ideas or an inkling of what they might be experiencing. If you have a similar experience, I know that they'd love to be in the comments and read your experiences too and your thoughts on their stories. If you like this video, go ahead and like it and subscribe if you want to hear more. Share this video if you feel compelled to do so with some of your spooky friends. And if you're on podcast, leave us a 5-star review, please. That would be greatly appreciated. If you have a story of your own that you'd like to share with us, you can send it to us at ghostiespod@gmail.com. That's all for today, and we will see you on Monday. Goodbye.